If you're a Sonic fan like we are, you've probably asked yourself at some point, are hedgehogs actually fast in real life? So we went ahead and asked Google, and we found out that hedgehogs, which are much smaller and have fewer quills than porcupines, can only run at a top speed of less than 10 kilometers per hour. That's slower than my 90-year-old grandpa with a cane. And that's when we started to wonder, how exactly did the origin story of the world's fastest blue hero in gaming come to be? According to Naoto Oshima, the guy who designed the first version of Sonic, the origin of the character was inspired by a real event from World War II. There was supposedly a pilot in the Allied forces who loved flying at high speeds without a helmet, which made his hair stick up wildly, kind of like a hedgehog's spikes. His friends ended up nicknaming him the Hedgehog because of it. He supposedly liked it so much that he even painted a little hedgehog nose on the front of his plane. Years later, he married a writer who created a story about a hedgehog who loved speed and had spiky hair. But here's the catch. That whole story is completely made up. That pilot never existed. Naoto Oshima fabricated it just to convince the executives at Sega, the company he worked for, to greenlight his character idea. And the craziest part, it worked. Oshima later admitted the story was fake, but by then Sonic had already made Sega a fortune, and no one at the company really cared. But here's where the real Sonic origin begins. Why was Sega so obsessed with creating a character that could become the face of the company and represent it around the world? Dozens of games later, a bunch of animated series, comic books, and even 3 live-action movies. It's clear that this fake origin story actually gave birth to one of the greatest pop culture icons of all time. But here's the thing, there are other Sonic origin stories that most fans of the Blue Blur don't even know about. We're talking alternate dimensions, alien worlds, and even a rival character who might be the real reason Sonic was created in the first place. Let's blow your mind and take a deep dive together. There are actually a few different backstories for Sonic, depending on which part of his universe you're looking at. In 2022, Sega released a collection called Sonic Origins, which includes the first 4 games of the series. In that collection, we get the main backstory of the franchise. Sonic, a young blue hedgehog with supersonic speed, lived peacefully on a mysterious place called South Island, a tropical world full of forests, waterfalls, mountains, and ancient ruins. The island has a secret. It floats above the ocean from time to time thanks to the power of the Chaos Emeralds, ancient artifacts with massive energy. That peaceful life ends when the evil scientist Dr. Robotnik, also known as Eggman, shows up. His mission: find the Chaos Emeralds and use their power to fuel his robotic creations and take over the world. To do this, he kidnaps the local animals and transforms them into robotic slaves, called badniks. Sonic decides to take matters into his own hands, motivated by his love of freedom and justice. He sets off on his first journey, freeing the animals, defeating Robotnik's machines, and recovering the hidden Chaos Emeralds across the island. After the events on South Island, Sonic heads to a strange place called Little Planet, a small world that appears only once a year above the Never Lake. That's where Amy Rose, a pink hedgehog, lives. This planet holds the secret of time itself, thanks to powerful artifacts called time stones. They look like Chaos Emeralds, but they can change the past, present, and future. Once again, Robotnik gets there first. He chains the planet to the Earth's surface with a giant metal anchor and launches a plan to control time. That's when Sonic meets Amy Rose, who instantly falls for him. But before anything can happen, she's kidnapped by a new enemy, Metal Sonic, a robotic version of Sonic created by Robotnik himself. Now Sonic has to rescue Amy, defeat Metal Sonic, and fix the timeline by traveling through past, present, and future versions of each level. He also collects the time stones to make sure Little Planet's future doesn't fall into darkness. After saving Little Planet, Sonic continues his journey. On a new island, he meets a young and gifted 2-tailed fox named Miles Tails Prower, who becomes his loyal companion. Tails looks up to Sonic with admiration and decides to follow him on his adventures. Meanwhile, Robotnik discovers the existence of a powerful weapon of mass destruction, the Death Egg, his very own Death Star. To build it, he starts draining energy from the Chaos Emeralds and once again begins capturing animals. Sonic and Tails team up to stop him, traveling across different regions of the island, facing new badniks, and sabotaging the construction of the space station. Sonic battles Robotnik inside the Death Egg and barely manages to escape. If the player collects all the emeralds, Sonic transforms into Super Sonic, using the emerald's power to become invincible. After the battle in the Death Egg, the damaged ship crashes onto the floating island, also known as Angel Island, a mystical island that floats in the sky thanks to the Master Emerald's power. There lives Knuckles the Echidna, the last of his clan who protects the Master Emerald. Tricked by Robotnik, he believes Sonic and Tails are thieves. Knuckles starts sabotaging the duo's efforts. As Sonic and Tails continue to battle Robotnik, the Death Egg is rebuilt and once again becomes a threat to the world. When Knuckles finally learns the truth, he joins forces with them, and together the trio face Robotnik in an epic final showdown. Sonic once again becomes Super Sonic, and even Hypersonic using the Super Emeralds, defeats Robotnik and saves the Master Emerald, restoring the island's balance. That's the complete origin story of Sonic based on the first 4 games released by Sega between 1991 and 1994. Before we move on and tell you about all the different versions of Sonic's origin, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. But here's the thing, there's another very different version of Sonic's origin that was told in his comic books. This comic series was released exclusively in the United Kingdom between 1993 and 2002. In this version, Sonic wasn't originally called Sonic, and he wasn't even blue. He was actually a young brown hedgehog named Sunny, who lived on the planet Mobius, in the village of Never Lake, sharing its name with the lake from Sonic's CD, but not actually the same place. He was friends with a kind scientist named Dr. Ovi Kintobor, who was studying the Chaos Emeralds with the goal of removing all evil from the world. Kintobor and Sunny were great friends, but one day during an experiment to harness the energy of the emeralds, something went terribly wrong. While Sunny was running on a treadmill to generate power, a hard-boiled egg accidentally fell into the machine along with the emeralds. As a result, Sunny's body was affected by the shock of the chaos energy and his own supersonic speed, turning him blue and transforming him into the Sonic we know today, even changing his name. But the explosion also had a different effect on Kintobor. He became corrupted and turned into Dr. Evil Robotnik, whose name is literally Ovi Kintobor, spelled backwards. After transforming into Robotnik, the once peaceful scientist conquered Mobius, turning cities into robotic fortresses and trapping animals inside machines. Sonic then forms a resistance group called the Freedom Fighters and begins his battle to free Mobius from Robotnik's rule. Throughout the series, Sonic and his team face invasions, time manipulation, evil clones, ancient civilizations, and mutations caused by the Chaos Emeralds. This version of Sonic's origin is totally different from the one we see in the games and isn't considered canon, but it became hugely popular in the UK. Sonic's universe is so massive that beyond the origin stories from the games and the comics, there are also different origin stories for the hero in each of his many cartoons and animated shows. But let's focus on one of the most interesting versions, which was shown in the 1999 animated series Sonic Underground. In this story, Sonic is actually part of the royal family of Mobius, his home planet. He has two twin siblings, Sonia, who is pink, and Manic, who is green. The three are children of Queen Alina, the ruler of Mobius. Mobius was in balance until the rise of Dr. Robotnik, who led a coup and turned the planet into a brutal dictatorship. Right before Robotnik's takeover, a prophecy was revealed by the Oracle of Delphi. One day, 3 children born of the Queen shall bring about Robotnik's downfall and restore freedom to Mobius. After hearing the prophecy, Queen Alina separates from her children right after they're born in order to protect them from Robotnik, who has now taken over the world, as he always does. Sonic, Sonia, and Manic grow up apart, completely unaware of their true origins, until they eventually reunite to form a rock band and fight against tyranny. Each of them inherits a magical medallion from their mother, and these medallions transform into their own musical instruments. But these instruments don't just play music, they double as powerful energy weapons that can unleash sonic blasts, shields, tremors, and more. The 3 team up, with Sonic taking the lead as both the frontman of the band and leader of the siblings. They call themselves Sonic Underground. They set out on a journey to find their mother, and throughout the show, there are hints that their powers come from an ancient, mystical bloodline. The show explores underground worlds, hidden cities, and rebel tribes, all discovered along their quest to track down their mother, Queen Alina. The series ended with 40 episodes, but the main plot was never resolved. Queen Alina was never found, and the prophecy mentioned in the show was never fulfilled. For years, fans begged for an alternate ending or a continuation, but nothing was ever made official. Even though it's very different from any other Sonic adaptation, we have to admit it's a super original idea, and the show is actually more serious than it looks. Now moving on to the movie universe, which began in 2020, we get yet another origin story for Sonic, the 4th one already, and it's totally different from anything we've seen before. In the first movie, released in 2020, we learned that Sonic is born with supersonic speed on an alien planet that visually looks a lot like the classic Green Hill Zone from the games. As a kid, he's raised by an owl named Longclaw, who acts as his adoptive mom and mentor. It's worth pointing out that Longclaw has never appeared in any Sonic game, at least not yet. Because he was born with a mysterious and uncontrollable power, Sonic is hunted down at a young age by tribes who want to steal that power, especially a group of echidnas, the same species as Knuckles. Longclaw protects him by giving him a pouch of magic rings, which work as portals between worlds. She sacrifices herself to stop Knuckles' tribe from crossing through a portal and capturing Sonic. After traveling through several different planets, Sonic finally settles down in the town of Green Hills, Montana. There, he befriends Tom and Maddie, also known as the Donut Lord and Donut Lady. One day, while playing baseball by himself, Sonic accidentally unleashes a massive energy pulse, which catches the attention of GUN. That's when Dr. Robotnik shows up in Green Hills, and their rivalry officially begins, one that continues throughout all the movies. Over time, Sonic gains new allies like Tails and Knuckles, who at first was his enemy. It's also revealed that Knuckles' entire race, the Echidnas, was completely wiped out by Longclaw's Owl Tribe. But yeah, this is definitely one of the most fascinating and unique versions of Sonic's origin story. Did you like it? Then hit that like button. We've picked out 2 more videos right here on the side for you to keep having fun. Pick one and let's jump into the next one.